Welcome to Ani Globe. This is a big thank you for all that extra time you both took to toy with Mimi. Sumi Makoto is a regular boy who is suddenly transported to another dimension. A god named Tsukuyomi tells him that his parents are not from Earth and he wants to send him to another world to become a hero. He blesses Makoto with some powers, but then a goddess takes him away. She makes fun of Makoto and sends him to a wasteland as she thinks he is too ugly. Tsukuyomi has one last chat with Makoto and tells him that he was restricted on Earth, but he can use his powers freely in the wasteland. After 3 days of landing in this new world, Makoto saves an orc named Emma from a two-headed dog. She reveals that she wants to sacrifice herself to the god Shin to get rid of the fog that is hampering the crops in her village. She takes Makoto to the village and teaches him some magic. He makes quick progress but only reaches level 1 when he is assessed. However, Makoto decides to take on Shin so that he can save Emma from her sacrifice. Upon reaching the mountains, Shin is shown to be a massive dragon and attacks Makoto during an intense battle. Makoto dominates at first but is trapped inside a memory illusion. He meets his crush Hasegawa in this illusion and Shin learns more about his life on Earth. Makoto eventually breaks free of the illusion, but then Shin offers peace and expresses an interest in becoming his companion to learn more about his earlier life. They enter into an 80-20 contract and Shin transforms into an attractive woman to accompany Makoto. Shin takes Makoto to another dimension called the demi-plane. She has altered it in order to match the historical dramas and samurai memories she had seen earlier. Makoto and Shin visit the village to clear things up with Emma and the orcs, after which everyone enjoys a party. Shin convinces the orcs agree to move to her demi-plane so that they can live in a better world together. She also makes a child fragment of herself to protect the inhabitants. Shin continues to watch Makoto's memories while he decides to learn more about his parents. One day Shin returns with an injured dwarf and explains that the spider monster Black Disaster is plaguing their lands due to its appetite. The spider appears and Shin refuses to fight it, so Makoto takes it on, but the spider can regenerate quickly, so he runs out of energy. He's about to be eaten, but then he activates some hidden powers and destroys the spider again. It manages to regenerate from its blood, but now that its hunger has been satisfied by the battle, it falls in love with Makoto. Shin uses this chance to convince the spider to also perform a contract, and she also transforms into a beautiful woman. The spider girl introduces herself to Makoto once he recovers from his injuries. The elder dwarf named Baron asks for his people to move into the demi-plane and Shin agrees after arranging for some bribes. Later Shin forces Makoto to give her and the spider girl some proper names. After a bit of hesitation, he calls Shantamo and the spider Mio the dwarves, lizard folk, and all spiders join the orcs as inhabitants of the demi-plane, and Makoto is chosen to be the young master. Now Makoto comes across some humans, but they can't understand his language and act hostile because they think he's a demon lord as he has too much mana surrounding him. The dwarves make a drop near ring that can suppress Makoto's mana, and he learns to summon the written Japanese language for communication purposes. Now Makoto, Tomoe and Mio enter the human town of Zetsuya and register at an adventurers guild. Tomoe and Mio reach high magic levels upon being tested, but Makoto is only at level 1 due to his suppressed mana. Tumor learns about a fellow dragon named Lancer being killed by Sophia Boga the dragon slayer. The team later notices that the town is unusually expensive and they are being followed by thieves. Then Makoto and Mio run into a girl named Renan. Is taken to the end and she says that her sister Toa has disappeared. Meanwhile, Tomoe accidentally kills the thieves but manages to spare one. Makoto bonds with Renan, who gives him a sketch of Toa, and to his surprise she looks a lot like Hasegawa. Tomoe brings her hostage and reads her memories to assess where Toa is being held. He asks the girls to find Toa and they manage to rescue her soon after. Meanwhile, Makoto uses his powers to spy on Renan, who is reporting to Toa as kidnappers to help them steal Makoto's valuable valuables. The girls meet Mills as the strongest adventurer in Zetsuya and are offered to join him, but they refuse. He uses a barrier to protect himself from their initial attack, but the girls take down the bandits without much fuss. They end up demolishing the building and punch Ace away, after which they compete over who's more powerful. This results in the town getting destroyed. During a hilarious sequence, Rainan and Toa are finally reunited with each other, and then Makoto temporarily banishes the girls for demolishing Zetsuya. Tomoe manages to alter everyone's memories so that they don't remember what actually happened at Zetsuya. Now that the team has to re-register Otsuga, Makoto decides to trick Tomoe into training her knight errantry to avoid any conflict with Mio. The duo travels with Toa, Louisa, Hazel and Bernina to the city and kill several monsters. On the way they harvest lots of precious items such as ruby eyes and eventually register at the new guild. Makoto learns of a special quest from the Rembrandt Company that requires ruby eyes. He decides to take up the quest as he already has the items in question. However, Toa warns Makoto about Rembrandt's reputation. Miu hopes to do something with Makoto at night, but he passes out straight away, leaving her disappointed. Upon returning to the demiplane, Emma briefs Makoto on the amazing progress the community has been making. Makoto decides to use a man as a pressing suit, but it reaches its limit immediately when he wears it, so the dwarves work on a new one. Later, Makoto meets Patrick Rembrandt and talks to him about his quest. Patrick is a little dismissive at first, but he changes his mind after he gets the ruby eyes. He reveals that he wants to use them from an ambrosia medicine to cure his wife and daughters of a cursed illness that has turned them into monsters. Makoto offers to help with the process and goes to register at the Merchant Guild as he wants to start a business. He aces the entrance test quite easily, much to his supervisor's surprise, and earns his license instantly. Meanwhile, Tomoe continues to destroy monsters as part of her night entry and returns to the demiplane. She learns that Mio is translating more of Makoto's memories, and Emma convinces her to join, and Makoto realizes he can mask the demiplane as an illusory trade city and make money from its superior products. He is summoned by Tomoe, who is fighting with Mio over his memories of cartoons and anime. He sorts out the fight and avoids an awkward situation with the girls to go back to Rembrandt. Hazel has agreed to help with the ambrosia medicine, so he brings him along, but they are being watched by some adventurers. We learn that Patrick is still torturing the witch doctor who cursed his family. Hasa is excited to work for Rembrandt, and Makoto learns of the importance of ambrosia flowers. After avoiding a few mishaps, they manage to prepare the ambrosia, but Patrick gets injured by his wife Lisa while trying to administer the medicine. Makoto confronts her and is able to restrain her long enough for Patrick to cure her. They repeat the same process for his daughters and succeed. Makoto and Hazel meet Tomoe and Mio after that, but are attacked by some adventurers. Mio accepts a bribe to stay out of the fight, but this was part of an agreement with Makoto to avoid competition with Tomoe. Tomoe defeats all of the adventurers, sparing only the leader Lum Latte. After seeing his orphanage in his memories, Lum reveals that he asked the witch doctor to put a curse on the women, but only to put them to sleep, as Patrick didn't allow him to carry out his adventures. Lime apologizes to Patrick and he forgives him. Now Tomoe decides to give Lime a katana and makes him her assistant after he retires from being an adventurer. Tomoe also spies on Patrick and learns that he's cautious of Makoto being his competition at the demiplane. Emma tells Makoto to check on the people and he learns that they are depressed because his team is too powerful. The group also realizes that the various species are not interacting with each other. They decide to hold a battle between the orc leader and the lizard leader to assess their strength. They have an impressive fight and the orcs win, but Tomoe says they are not powerful and they should arrange weekly battles like this to increase their strength. Later, the team is tasked with training a new adventurer. As Lime has retired, Tomoe takes charge as she worries. The Tora reminds Makoto of his past life. In order to change Toa's attitude, she makes Dala and Her team go through an arduous routine with 8 monsters. They struggle at first, so Tomoe gives them a strategy to take them down. After this, Tomoe sends them to a den with 108 monsters. After an arduous battle, they succeed and are chosen as the new top adventurers. Meanwhile, Makoto decides to collect ambrosia flowers to boost his business, and that he asks Patrick to rent him a spot so that he can open the Kuzunoa Trading Company. Rembrandt realizes that Makoto isn't buying land to avoid the Sega Kingdom forcing him into spying on his operations, so he agrees. The girls enter the tiny rock forest to look for ambrosia flowers and learn that they are being protected by elves. The demi-plane celebrates Makoto's company being formed, and he takes turns talking to each of his subjects. It's a tiresome night, and later the girls sense that their master has died. For a split second while practicing archery, they rush to him and are glad to see him alive. Here Tomoe explains that Makoto was diffusing his consciousness while he was practicing with his bow. This led to him dying and coming back to life repeatedly, which has made his mana increase to god level. Even the demi-plane is growing as a result of this, but it might catch the goddess's attention, thus pushing her to kill him. Later Makoto has a brief encounter with a street woman and it makes the girls jealous. They take him home and express their romantic frustrations, after which they try to force themselves on him. Makoto panics and escapes. Then he equips himself with mana suppressing outfits. Miu joins him as he goes to negotiate with the elves Aqua and Iris for the flowers. They hold hands and Miu gets excited, but they are interrupted when a group of adventurers led by the street women try to steal the flowers. This pushes the elves to attack them. Miu loses her cool, so Tomoe advises Makoto to feed her his blood and it calms her down. This allows Miu to defeat Aqua and Iris without killing them, and then they are taken to meet the elders. Meanwhile, the adventurers are teleported to the demi-plan and are kept there. Makoto and Miu meet the elder Nijistono and his son Adono, who doesn't like that the forest barrier is weakening. Then they meet Aqua's and Eris's master Mundo, but he is knocked away by Miu after she gets jealous of him holding Makoto's hand. Later Miu spies on him and learns that Mundo is possessed. She also overhears Adono talking to someone about demons. At night, Mundo's spirit frees itself from his body and kills Adono for associating with demons. Makoto identifies the spirit as the Lich. He is attacked by the spirit, but he defeats him easily and takes him to the demi-plane. The forest dwellers start to respect Makoto after Tomoe appears and reminds them that she was the one who created the barrier in the first place. Later the Lich says that he wanted to be a Grant so that he could travel between worlds, but Tomoe clarifies that Grants are humans who have somehow managed to travel between worlds. The Lich makes a contract with Makoto and becomes a man, but then the adventurers trigger an explosion and it causes Tomoe to faint. Miu tends to Tomoe while the others rush to handle the situation. The Lich and Makoto combine their powers to heal everyone, but Emma reveals that an orc has died. Makoto reaches the explosion site and notices a portal to the outside world. He checks a memory fragment of the street woman and learns that the adventurers tried to steal his mana rings and escape. When Tomoe's child fragment tried to intervene, the ring exploded and it killed her along with the orc. Devastated by what's happened, Makoto locates the street woman and brutally kills her, but cries in sadness upon seeing what he's done. After the funeral is conducted, the Lich is named Shiki. He reveals that Tomoe and Makoto have a deep bond now due to his memory viewing abilities, and it makes Miu jealous. Makoto promises to take protective measures with the illusory city so as to avoid another explosion. Then he decides to go to the Rodsguard Academy with Shiki to learn more about this world so that he can make it better. He leaves the girls with some gifts and is about to teleport, but then the goddess transports him to another spot where he is attacked by 2 demon warriors who chop off his fingers. The warriors reveal themselves to be Sophia the Dragon Slayer and the Dragonlance, who is now in his human form. Mitsurugi. Makoto tries to fend them off, but they are too powerful and break through his barriers, things get difficult for Makoto, so he removes one of his mana rings and puts on a fierce display of fire and water, after which he destroys Sophia's sword. The demons try to kill Makoto by flinging him into the air, but he releases more of his mana rings and totally annihilates the demon army, after which he teleports away. However, he leaves the warriors alive and Sophia swears revenge. Patrick learns of this battle but doesn't realize the damage was caused by Makoto. Shiki and the team tell Makoto that the goddess used him to destroy the army. Then Makoto meets Komi, who is another Tomoe fragment made with one of his mana rings, thus making her their daughter. The illusory city opens up to the adventurers and becomes an instant success. Everyone celebrates this new chapter in their lives while Makoto contemplates his drama-fueled future as the girls argue yet again. That's all for now. I hope you like it. Subscribe for more content like this and hit the like button to help us out. Also leave a comment if you want us to review your favorite anime. Until next time, take care.